So first and foremost, in terms of putting this into your workout structure, we need to think practically. We need to take a practical approach to setting all of this up because, most of us only have a certain amount of time that we can actually train each day. So we need to keep that in mind. It would be foolish to think that we didn't. So as a coach, an easy place to start that I tell people to start is give yourself 60 seconds in between each set. So we can use this biceps example for this entire podcast. So you do a set of 8, you have a 60-second rest period. So you got your phone, right? Normally you're on Twitter in between sets. Well, instead of doing that, we all have a stopwatch on our phone nowadays. You're going to go over to that timer. You're going to start the timer. Let it run. When it gets to 1 minute, 60 seconds, you're going to stop the timer, pick up the weights, do another set, so on and so forth, all the way through your workout. The reason that I start people off with 60 seconds is because normally it's a good place to start. I know that's not super descriptive, but it is, and it helps you figure things out. So most of the time when I give people 60-second rest periods in between their sets, we find that over the course of a workout, the workout is generally more intense than it was before you were timing your rest periods. And the reason for that is normally when people don't time their rest periods, at the beginning of your workout, you're moving along pretty good. But as the workout progresses, the rest periods get longer and longer and longer and longer. And this is going to help just make the workout overall a little bit more intense. And I think that you'll find that. So if you haven't done this before, give that a try. I think that's what you'll find over time. And that's just a starting point. This all can evolve over time. And I can relate to this because this is something that I kind of did right and I kind of did wrong for the longest time. I had always adhered to 60-second rest periods very strictly. And the thought process was a lot of what we've described here. It's because I thought, and it's true, if you have 60 seconds in between each set and you see progress, it's all standardized and you can see what your progress looks like over time. Eventually, if you do this long enough and you build enough muscle and you build enough strength, you're going to find that you get to a point where those rest periods probably need to increase so that you can continue lifting more weight and continue to build up the intensity of your workouts. And you may find that for certain movements, you need a little bit more rest than other movements. And that's perfectly fine. So you could make rest periods specific to the type of exercise that you're doing. And biceps, again, is a good one. That's not a very big muscle group as compared to if you were doing something like squats. I'll give myself 60 seconds of rest between sets of bicep curls because you don't really need that much time to recover after a set of bicep curls. But after a set of squats, your quads are targeted, but really that's a compound exercise that's involving a lot of the musculature in your body. I'll give myself up to 3 minutes, maybe even a little bit more in between sets so that I can fully rest and recover and be able to approach the next set with solid form and solid technique. So I'm a big fan of some recommendations I recently read in the Mass Research Review, and that was what kind of led me to want to talk about this topic. And here's the recommendations that they provided. And you can find these in the article that I wrote on this topic on my website, chrisgatesfitness.com. What the Mass Review suggested was 1.2 to 2 minutes of rest in between sets for single joint exercises. So that's things like bicep curls, small muscle groups, lateral raises, stuff like that. 2 to 3 minutes of rest for compound upper body exercises. So those would be your pressing movements like a dumbbell chest press or a bench press. And 3 to 5 minutes of rest for compound lower body exercises. And I just mentioned one of those, squatting. Another one could be deadlifting. So those are kind of good, that's a good framework for you to kind of conceptualize how this might apply to each different exercise that you're doing. But like I said before, I think 60 seconds is a good place to start. Standardize your training session. And as you get more experience with it over time, you can customize it to see, after you do those 60-second rest periods, you may notice that when I'm doing my dumbbell press, that just doesn't feel like enough time. Well, bump it up to 90 seconds. Bump it up to 2 minutes if you need to. You can, just like anything, it can be customized to you, but there's only one way to figure out how to do that best, and that's to, I think, start with 60 seconds and play around with it from there.